In this reminder, inshallah, I would like to share with you some reflections on an ayah from Surah Al-Qasas, the 28th surah of the Quran. The story of Musa alayhi salam is mentioned in many places in the Quran. In this particular place, Allah is telling us about the part of his life before he speaks with Allah on the mountain of Tur. Glimpses of the life of Musa alayhi salam before that event are captured in Surah Al-Qasas. One of those events is when he escaped Egypt and made it into Madiyan. He escaped because he was wanted for murder, even though it was a mistake. He had punched someone and they had died by accident. He escaped the city, escaped Egypt because they were looking for him and were going to kill him if they found him. The order was shoot to kill. Allah guided him through the desert and he got him all the way to the waters of Madian. Madian is in the middle of the desert, but it has some waters, some lakes and ponds. So he ends up over there finally sitting, getting some relief, drinking some water. Allah Azza wa Jal tells us he found there a crowd of people watering their flocks, and he found apart from them two women holding their flocks back. Al-Qasas 28:23. He found a group of people that were giving their animals drink, and besides them, he saw two women who were pulling on their animals. In other words, up on the top of the hill, there are two young ladies that had some animals, but they are not letting their animals drink the water, while all the rest of the village is feeding their animal water. Their sheep and their goats and their camels and their cows are all drinking water. But these women with their sheep, they are just tugging away at them. Obviously, the sheep see the water, so they want to go drink, but they are not going. They are staying in place. He sees this scene, so he goes up to them and says, he asked the woman, "What is it that troubles you?" They said, "We cannot water our flocks until the shepherds take their flocks away, and our father is a very old man." "What's wrong with you two? What's the situation here?" And they said, "We don't give our flock drink from this pond until the entire flock of the people is done." What they're trying to say is we don't want to go among those men because a lot of them are perverts. They don't respect women. They howl at us or they harass us. So we would rather all of these people finish because they are a bunch of idiots and then we will do our work. Our father is an old man, and one of the meanings of this ayah, wa Abuna Sheikh Kabir, is a very old man, meaning he cannot do this work anymore. We are the only ones in the family that can do this work. So Musa alayhi salam doesn't continue talking to them. He actually just grabs the sheep, goes to the well, and moves those guys like they were a bunch of insects because he is a very strong man. He fed the animals and brought them back. This is the ayah that I want to reflect on with you in this reminder. This brief background was there so everybody is on the same page. So, Allah says in Quran, Moses watered their flocks for them and then returned in a shaded place and said, Rabbi inni lima anzalta ilayya min khairin fakir. My Lord, I am truly in great need of any good that you might send down to me. Al-Qasas 28:24. He watered and fed their animals for them. Thereafter he turned back to the shade. So now Musa alayhi salam goes back and lies down or relaxes under the shade again. Once he sits down, what does he do? One of the most famous duas in the entire Quran. He turns to Allah and says, "My master, no doubt about it. Whatever good you have sent down my way, whatever you have sent down towards me of any kind of good, no doubt about it, I am desperately in need of it." This is the dua of Musa alayhi salam when he sat back down in the shade. I wanted to take the opportunity in this reminder to discuss with you some of the benefits of this incredible statement. So powerful that Allah Azza wa Jal made it a part of His Quran. As long as Muslims are around, we are going to be celebrating this dua of Musa alayhi salam that he made in private. There were no congregations behind him. He wasn't saying this dua and there were thousands of people behind him saying Ameen. He is just by himself sitting under the shade of a tree making this dua. But this dua is so valuable to Allah that until Yawm al Qiyamah, we are going to be reciting this dua and we are going to be celebrating these remarkable words. The first thing I would like to share with you here is that when you help people, you don't wait around until they say thank you because you didn't help them so you can hear appreciation. When Musa alayhi Islam helped those ladies, you don't find in the Quran they both said thank you so much and he said no problem, no big deal. He didn't expect and he didn't actually continue the conversation with them. He handed over the animals and walked away. He did this for Allah, and so the only one he wants to get appreciation from is Allah. He's not interested in a conversation with those two women. He is interested in a conversation with Allah. A lot of times we do good things, but in the back of our head, we are hoping to get some form of recognition, we are hoping to get some appreciation, some other side benefits. We are going to learn in this dua that if you make your intentions pure, you help someone, you do something good for someone, but you expect and converse only with Allah, then Allah will take more care of you than you could ever imagine. Obviously, sometimes people do each other favors because they are hoping if I do you a favor today, maybe tomorrow you will do me a favor. I'm doing this for you, hoping you are going to do something for me. I scratch your back, you scratch mine. But in this dua, you notice, even though Musa alayhi Islam is homeless, he is a fugitive from the law. He has no clothes other than the one he is wearing on his back. He has no provisions with him. Clearly, he is stopping at this pond to drink some water because he doesn't even have food and drink. He's pretty much at the point of desperation, as desperate as a human being can get. And yet, when he helps these women, he doesn't expect from them, he still expects from Allah. When you do something voluntarily, because he volunteered, right? He didn't say, well, how much are you going to pay me? By the way, that was work, and if you do work, it's okay for you to ask for wages. It's not a problem. If you do work for someone, it doesn't have to be voluntary, but he volunteered himself, which means once you offer yourself voluntarily, don't expect compensation. If you're expecting compensation, bring that up from the very beginning. Say from the very beginning, look, I need to get paid for this. A lot of times, for example, we volunteer for projects or for the masjid, and in the back of our heads, we are thinking, I volunteered the entire month of Ramadan. On the 27th, they are going to have an award ceremony for me, they are going to hand me something, they are going to give me some appreciation. Even if that expectation is in our head, we are missing something from this dua. We cannot have that expectation. Musa alayhi Islam turns away from them and sits back down under the shade. He talks to Allah and he says to Allah some of the most incredible words in the Quran. Rabbi inni lima anzalta ilayya min khairin fakir. My Lord, I am truly in great need of any good that you might send down to me. Master, whatever you send down my way, and this is in the past tense, I did not say whatever you send down my way, but whatever you send down my way, anzalta, whatever you already sent down, I was in desperate need of it. In other words, this shade and that water in front of me, that's all he gets right now. He doesn't have a house, he doesn't have food, he doesn't have anything else, and yet he is looking at all of this and telling Allah, Yalla, thank you so much for this. I desperately needed it. In other words, before asking Allah for more, he is concentrating on what Allah has already given him. If you look at it from our perspective, he has nothing. He has got absolutely nothing. But from his perspective, he was in the middle of the desert and there is no logical reason why he couldn't have died of dehydration. The fact that he made it all the way to the water and the fact that he found a place to sit, which is under a shade, which Allah mentions, Summa tawalla ila al-zil, the fact that he found that much, and on top of all of this, the fact that he found an opportunity to do a good deed is enough for him to be grateful. Instead of thinking about what he doesn't have, he turns to Allah and says basically, I'll put it in easy language for you. Ya Allah, I really needed that. Thanks. I really needed that. I was so desperate. I would have died without this help of yours. Subhanallah. What a different attitude. He is constantly thinking about what he has to be grateful for. Now, there is more meaning to this dua. The other piece of this dua that's remarkable is that Musa alayhi salam not too long ago accidentally killed somebody. He punched someone while he was defending another man, and the Coptic soldier of Pharaoh died. And so he's run from this. And by the way, he felt guilty about what happened. He made dua to Allah to forgive him for what happened, but he still feels guilt inside of him. When you feel guilty inside of you, what should you do? This is a lesson about making mistakes. All of us have made mistakes in our lives. All of us pretty much have done things that are not exactly what Allah expected us to do. What do you do after you make a mistake? And by the way, some of our mistakes are small and some of our mistakes are very big. The mistake that Musa alayhi salam made is to take another person's life. That is not a small mistake. If you or I made that kind of a mistake, we would have a hard time sleeping for the rest of our lives. If you have any conscience, this would be the kind of thing that could haunt you for the rest of your life. You would not be able to get over it. It's not something you would just forget about. Say you speak ill of someone, or you lost your temper, or maybe you forgot at the time and you did some backbiting, or whatever, these are mistakes, but you forget about them. You don't remember what you did 2 years ago, you forget. But if you accidentally killed someone, that's a serious business. So, what I'm trying to tell you is that you and I have made mistakes in our past. But for some of us, those mistakes are so big in our mind, we are never able to move on with life. We are never able to think past that mistake. We are constantly thinking about that mistake. This dua is teaching us that if you have a mistake in your past, if you have done something really bad in your past, and I'm pretty confident that it's not the same as the mistake of Musa alayhi salam. I'm pretty sure that the police are not looking for you for murder. Anything short of that, you should be covered. Allah gave us this extreme example so that we could understand if Allah will cover that one, then I am covered. I'm okay. Mine is not as bad. So, now, what is the lesson here? The lesson here is that if you have made a mistake, then you should be desperate to find opportunities to do good things for people. Musa alayhi Islam is almost dead from dehydration and starvation. He is barely surviving and he sees two women in need of help. What does he do? He gets up and helps them. Why in the world would he get up and they didn't ask for help? He just sees this opportunity. He didn't say, okay, let me just get a little bit of rest and then maybe I will figure out what is going on over there. Or he could have just assumed on his own they are waiting for these men to finish. He's a smart man. He could figure all of this out himself. But the fact that he felt the urge to go and help them is because he is desperate to help. If you have any mistake in your past, there should be a fire inside of you to want to do good things. Every time there is an opportunity, no matter how tired you are, no matter how exhausted you are, no matter how unmotivated you motivate yourself. And what should motivate you? The mistake of your past. So, one of the meanings of this dua, Ya Allah, I have made a pretty bad mistake in my past. So, whatever opportunity you give me to make up for it, I will take it. I could desperately use that. So, thank you so much for giving me the chance, the honor of helping these women. Please listen to that again. Thank you for giving me the honor of helping these women. When you help someone, you are not honoring them. They are honoring you. In our deen, when you give sadaqah, for example, to someone begging outside, you give charity, you have not helped them. The fact of the matter is, they have helped you. They become testimony for you on the day of judgment. They become a forgiveness of your sins. You have helped them only in the dunya, which is nothing to Allah, but they have helped you in akhirah, which is everything. This is the change of attitude. This is Rabbi inni lima anzalta ilayya min khairin fakir. But also in this dua, the final and equally important piece is that When he makes this dua, Musa alayhi salam is acknowledging that whatever he has to be grateful for. But at the same time, Musa alayhi salam knows better than any of us because we are not in the middle of the desert dying that he is in need of food, he is in need of shelter, he is in need of protection, he is in need of a job, he is in the need of these things. But the interesting thing is that he doesn't ask Allah for any of them. We should ask Allah for everything. Why doesn't he ask Allah? Yalla feed me, Yalla give me more, Yalla provide me a house, Yalla fix my life up, I've got a problem. Why doesn't he ask for any of it? You see, in saying to Allah that whatever you have given me, I desperately needed it, he has actually asked Allah. Please try to understand the subtlety of this statement. I'll give you this example to help you understand this concept because it's a very profound concept in our religion. Our children sometimes they are picky and fussy about what they want to eat. You put vegetables on the dinner table and say to your son sitting there, "Eat your carrots." And he responds, "No, I don't want to eat carrots. I want chocolate." So he doesn't want the carrots. He wants chocolate. He doesn't want to drink the water, he wants juice. He doesn't want to finish the food, he wants ice cream first. In other words, what you give him, he doesn't want, and what he doesn't have, he wants. Do you get upset or not? You get a bit. Why don't you appreciate what I have done? You need this food. You are going to get sick. You need this medicine. You need this dinner. Finish your food. That's not good for you. But he wants what's not good for him and he doesn't care for what is in front of him. The believer recognizes that whatever Allah gives you, whatever food He puts on the table, whatever job you found, whatever business you are doing, not only it is good enough, you desperately needed it. You don't get to be fussy with Allah and tell Him, Ya Allah, I don't know if I want this one. You don't get to tell Allah, I know you provided me this rock or this tree to sit under, but if you could provide me some kind of bedding, it would be better. I know you gave me this water over here, but maybe some coconuts might help. No, whatever you have given me is exactly what I needed, and I desperately needed it. I desperately needed it. What word does he use to describe himself? He uses the word fakir. Inni lima anzalta ilayya min khairin fakir. Do you know the difference between fakir and miskin? Another word in the Quran for someone who is bankrupt, someone who can't help themselves, is miskin. Allah says, إِنَّمَا الصَّدَقَاتُ لِلْفُقَرَاءِ وَالْمَسَاكِينِ. The alms are meant only for the poor and the needy. Surah Toba 9:60. Allah put those two together, meaning you're supposed to give sadaqah to the one who is fakir and to the one who is miskin. And when you put two words together like that, it means they mean two different things. According to Ibn Manzoor in Lisan al-Arab, the fakir is in the worst possible situation. The miskin might even own some things. That's why in the Quran in Surah Al-Kahf, the masakin own a ship. As for the boat, it belonged to some poor people who worked on the river. Al-Kahf 1879. Even if someone is miskin, they might still own a boat, they might still be a fisherman, they might still have a job. But a fakir, he's got nothing, he's got absolutely nothing. He says to Allah that I have absolutely nothing. They say in Arabic, the one who is walking is happy with whatever ride he can get. You know what they mean by that? If there is a guy walking in the middle of the desert and somebody offers him a donkey, or somebody offers him a horse, or somebody offers him a turtle to sit on, he won't mind. He's not going to say, I don't know if this is my kind of ride, I need a more luxury class vehicle. He's not going to say that. He'll say, give me that bicycle, I'll take it. Because he has nothing. He is turning to Allah and saying, Ya Allah, I acknowledge that I have absolutely nothing and I don't even have a means to earn anything. You are the only one who sent this down my way. I'm not going to complain. The point I'm trying to make is just coming. When he made this dua to Allah, when he turned to Allah and said, Ya Allah, my back is broken. A fakir, by the way, is also someone whose back is broken. When your back is broken, it means you cannot lift anything. Things have to be given to you because you cannot even go and get them. That's why he said, Ya Allah, whatever you send towards me is because I am fakir. I can't go and get it. You are bringing it to me. Subhanallah. This is the acknowledgement of Musa alayhi salam. When he makes this dua, the next ayah of Suratul Qasas is translation. Soon thereafter, one of the two women came to him, walking bashfully, and said, My father invites you, that he may reward you for your having watered our flocks for us. Al-Qasas 28:25. Therefore, listen carefully now. Therefore, one of those two girls came back and said, My father wants to pay you. The word therefore is important. Did he ask for money? No. Did he ask for a job? No. Did he ask to be invited to their house? No. None of this. He only turned to Allah and said, Whatever you have given me, I was desperately in need of it. I appreciate it. You turn to Allah in appreciation, and as a result, there's a formula, there's a rule. You know how we call them the laws of nature? There are laws of Quran, and they are more powerful than the laws of nature. The laws of nature change. Fire is supposed to burn, but it will stop burning when Ibrahim alayhi salam is thrown inside. Water is supposed to retain its shape, but it will change when Musa alayhi salam strikes his staff and Allah makes the water not keep its shape. The laws of nature can bend when Allah wants them to, but the laws of Allah in His book, the laws of guidance, they don't bend. The laws of dua, they don't bend. And what is this law? That when you appreciate what Allah has given you, then Allah will take care of you. What happens? She comes to him and says, My dad wants to pay you. He doesn't turn to her and say, No, thank you, sister. I did that fi sabilillah. I don't want any money. He understood immediately that this is Allah responding to his dua. He did not have what we call back home, where I come from, the kallo. No, 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 thank you. I don't need anything. I don't need it. When people are offering you help, that might be from Allah. That might be the answer to your dua. So if somebody is offering you a job and you say, No, 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 I can't accept this favor, why are you turning away the favor of Allah? Musa alayhi salam has far more integrity than you. He didn't shy away and say, No, 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 that was a voluntary task. I expect nothing. He expected nothing. He expected from whom? From Allah. But when Allah brings people his way, he doesn't turn it down. As I conclude, let me tell you what happens. This one dua that he made with that sincerity, not only did he get invited, not only did he get paid, as a matter of fact, in the middle of that conversation, he got offered the daughter's hand in marriage. So he got married, and on top of that, he got a job for 8 to 10 years. So he got housing, employment, marriage, immigration status, all of it in one shot because of this one dua. Did he ask for any of these things? No. He started his entire family. A new life began for Musa alayhi salam, all because he appreciated what Allah Azza wa Jal had given him, even in the middle of the desert, even in the middle of nothing. We have to become people of shukr, people of gratitude, which is why you must appreciate that when Musa alayhi salam is in a desert again, Musa alayhi salam ends up in a desert twice. Once when he ran away as an individual from the army, and the second time when he ran away from the armies of Pharaoh as the leader of an entire nation. So in the life of Musa alayhi salam, he ends up escaping from the Egypt twice. Once personally and once with an entire nation. When he left with his entire nation, you know what he said to them? He said to them, Also call to mind when your Lord proclaimed, If you give thanks, I will certainly grant you more. وَإِذْ تَأَذَّنَ رَبُّكُمْ لَإِنْ شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. Surah Ibrahim 14:7. He turns to the Israelites who are in the middle of the desert, complaining about the heat, complaining about the lack of food, complaining about the lack of water. He turns to them and says, Your master had already declared that if you become grateful, I will absolutely increase you. I will give you more and more and more. Musa alayhi Islam is not just teaching them a theory, he is teaching them this dua based on his life experiences. He's already done this before. When he was grateful to Allah, Allah gave him more and more and more and more. This is the life lesson that he is teaching to Bani Israel. And that dua, La in shakartum la azidannakum, is so powerful. It was a khutbah given by Musa alayhi Islam to Bani Israel, and even that got recorded in the Quran. So you and I have to learn, and this is something we easily forget, to be grateful for what we do have and not to focus our attention so much on what we don't have. To learn to acknowledge that whatever we do have, we could not have survived without it. We are fakir for it when we really internally deeply develop that attitude. As a result of that, Allah will provide us the whole dunya and whatever is in it. Allah will give without restriction. Innama yuwaffas sabiruna ajrahum bighairi hisab. Verily, those who persevere shall be granted their reward beyond all reckoning. Al-Zumar 39:10. The people of Sabr are going to be paid without any restrictions. May Allah Azza wa Jal help us to internalize this beautiful and remarkable dua. Ameen.